Welcome to all Glen groupies in the chat. Welcome to any of my mamacitas who found their way to this show tonight. Welcome to you all. So we'll start with some hellos because we've got a minute or so before we are due to get cracking. We've got Gunter, Anne, Old Hippie, welcome. Lyra Jean, Karen, Wisconsin Zebra, one of the OGs, I believe. Beverly, the good Pam. Baba John's, just saw Baba John's kindly reposted one of the things that I did earlier. That's very much appreciated. And we've got Tracy, we've got Chris, Teresa's here, KR's here, Don's in, Tamara's in. Welcome. Doing the Lambeth walk for me. Oh, that's very kind of you. I nearly did the Lambeth walk today, but that's another story. Now, I was very, very much wanting to go to the counter protest to the awful Unite the Kingdom. Tommy, love, we are united. We want all you fascists to fuck off. That's pretty united. Anyways, there was a counter protest. There was the pro-Palestinian group celebrating the anniversary of the Nakba. And there was also the just anti-racist groups that were joining them as a counter protest. I did, Tamara. Oh, and I'll tell you all about that before we get started. We've already had Tamara 321 us. So, welcome. Hey everybody, still here, still completely uninvited, unsolicited, and without any permission whatsoever. Still hoping beyond hope that Teacher Glenn will be looking out across the class and see that we're all behaving ourselves properly and will actually enjoy his time in New York. Because you've earned it, Glenn. Because seriously, this is hard work. This is only my third in a row, and I'm only doing the little teeny tiny ones. But we've got it. We're all here. We're all together. We're all looking after each other. And for anyone who missed Glenn and BTC, I've got the link ready to upload with the show. I'm sure you all know how the YouTube works and you can find it for yourself. But just in case you can't be bothered, I've got the link ready to attach once the video from this live goes up. I mean, I can put it in the chat if for those who want it. I'm that organized. Right, paste. There we go. So anyone who knows how to get it out the chat, there it is. Everybody else, I'll put it with the video once the live goes up onto Substack or YouTube, so you'll be able to find it. But it was very, very good. Very good. And it looked like it was coming from a hotel room, so I'm guessing it was pretty current. And it was basically, they were talking about the lawsuit, Trump suing for his tax stuff and how he's going to try and settle with himself out of court and then have the big slush fund. We've mentioned it. And they really take a good look into the legalities or lack thereof in that particular subject. So there's absolutely no need for me to go anywhere near it because Brian and Glenn have got it. They are on the case. So I've chosen for you today one main story because I saw a name and I thought, oh, Glenn knows him. And I don't mean knows, but he's certainly mentioned him alongside people like Alina Haba and the other one. You'll recognize the name when you see it. Hey, Summer, welcome. And then a rapid roundup of the other things that caught my attention when I was scrolling through to try and see if there's anything happening on the legal horizon. If anybody is interested also in the ballroom and the secret hospital, which is probably one of the worst kept secrets in Washington going on, Adam Mockler, and his name has completely escaped me, and I follow him here on Substack. but if his name comes back to me, I will tell you because he's great. But Adam Mockler on YouTube, he's done a dive with his buddy whose name has gone clean out of my head. Mike Nellis. Thank you, Stacey from California. Mike Nellis, the wonderful Mike Nellis. And yeah, they do a great job of talking about the secret hospital that's not so secret. So that's if you need information on either of those, I would send you onto the YouTube and hunt down Adam Mockler for the ballroom, and Glenn and Mike Nellis, and Adam and Glenn and BTC for more information on the slush fund and making all the Jan 6 rioters billionaires. Because what decent society wouldn't, right? Am I right? No, it's crazy. So the main story I've got to cover for you, Glenn's probably touched on. I know the name is not a stranger to any of us regulars, but I don't know how far down into the story he's gone. So I've tried to bring it as up to date as I possibly can because it's just shocking. If we thought Alina Harbour and Lindsay Halligan were bad, this guy, oh my God, this guy is the one that he could write the book on being shocking and appalling when it comes to working in the US Attorney's Office. So, main story centers in the US Attorney's Office in Albany, New York. And if anybody has already remembered the name of the person we're going to be covered, feel free to get extra brownie points. We will, we'll put it on your report card and send it back to Glenn. So this man, I'm going to do like a through the keyhole. This man has zero prosecutorial experience. They were installed in the office of the US Attorney in Albany, New York by the Trump administration. And it's about why Albany specifically, why that particular US Attorney's office, because that matters. So what have we got inside this beautiful package? We have got a fabricated murder attempt caught on camera. I know. Alina and Lindsay just wish they had a fabricated murder attempt. A boarded up house listed as home address. This guy, he is the absolute peach when it comes to completely unqualified and inappropriate people being in jobs in the Trump 2.0 administration. It's got a local newspaper blacklisted for just reporting the truth, and a misconduct filing that the authorities tried to seal so the public couldn't have any knowledge of this prosecutorial misconduct, and a systematic, deliberate effort to use the power of the federal prosecution to destroy a political enemy. And we all know how Glenn feels about people using the federal prosecutorial power improperly. Not okay. It's not okay. And Tracy, I'm with you as another Tracy. Yeah, let's form a gang of Tracys and go after them. They won't know what's hit them. Okay. Who is the political enemy? Anybody got that yet? Who is the man at the center of this scandal? Anybody? I'm not going to drag it out because we want to get on with this, and you've all got things to do, lives to lead, and I'm not trying to big up my part here. But if I tell you the political enemy is Tish James, John Sarcone the third. Let's get into it. So why does the geography matter? The Northern District of New York covers Albany and a large portion of upstate New York. It's not the Southern District, the home of the high-profile financial frauds and organized crime prosecutions, and it's not the Manhattan office. Oh, Tamara, Glenn's certainly aware of Mr. Sarcone, put it that way. This is Albany. One piece of jurisdiction belonging to this office makes it very useful to a vindictive president. It covers the office of the New York State Attorney General. Tish James in this case. She won as not your own ignorance at all. We were all here to learn. I just remember when Glenn mentioned John Sarcone, I was thinking, I wonder if it's pronounced Sarcone or Sarcone. And that stuck. Anyway, yes. So Tish James, civil fraud case against the Trump Organization for gazillions of dollars. If anybody remembers, hey, Gordon, if anybody remembers the exact amount in the judgment, feel free to pop it in the chat. Trump has described her as one of his foremost political enemies. Hey, Laurel. And, you know, he's got a list, so she must be doing something bigly. She, on the flip side, has accused the second Trump administration of, quote, being on a revenge tour. Well, I don't think she needs to worry about that one being taken to court because it's pretty provable. So, when Trump needed somebody in Albany, did he look for an experienced prosecutor? Did he bollocks? He looked for someone loyal, because that's how you get a job in Trump 2.0. He found John Sarcone III, not a criminal attorney, don't get excited, not a federal prosecutor, a campaign lawyer with no prosecutorial experience. He worked for Trump's 2024 campaign because, of course, he did. Attorney General Pam Bondi installed him as interim U.S. Attorney for the Northern District. Standard interim appointments, as we know, only last 120 days. We've seen the fiasco with Alina Harbour squatting in the office and refusing to leave. Lindsay Halligan filing grand juries that she's got no business filing. Yeah, so we know about the 120 days. Under federal law, U.S. attorneys must then be nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. We've been here before. We know the drill. It's just a shame the administration don't appear to. Sarcone was never confirmed. He has never been confirmed. He is of today still there. So let me take you through the steps of how you get an unlawful appointment to stick. Step 1. Sarcone's 120-day appointment expires. The local federal judges in the Northern District who have the statutory authority to make his position permanent review his record and decline to extend his tenure. Oopsie. They are not impressed. Step 2. The DOJ, rather than accept this decision, they reshuffle his job title. They move him from acting U.S. attorney to first assistant U.S. attorney. So completely different job, completely different time clock applies. And they continue to have him run the office. Oh, so not completely different then. A federal judge was not buying what they were selling and later described this precisely as, quote, federal law does not permit such a workaround when the executive branch skirts restraints put in place by Congress and then uses that power to subject political adversaries to criminal investigations. It acts without lawful authority. I'm trying to say it like Glenn. So it's exactly what they did with Halligan. Exactly. He is this guy, Sarcone. He's the blueprint for what all the others have done. Ready for step 3? The local judges, having had absolutely enough of this, appoint a veteran career prosecutor named Donald Kinsella to fill the role permanently and properly. You're way ahead of me because I know you've all guessed what happens next. What did the DOJ do with Mr. perfectly lawfully appointed Donald Kinsella? That's right. Yes. They fired him within hours of the appointment because that's what they do. Step 4, why not? Federal judge rules that Sarkone was unlawfully appointed and blocks all of his subpoenas against Letitia James's office. What were these subpoenas for, I hear you ask? You didn't say subpoenas, that was just me stuttering. They were demanding records relating to the Trump Organization civil fraud case, because of course they were, and the NRA investigation. The judge called these subpoenas, oh yeah, I've got to say sport, haven't I? I'll try. It's got to come in naturally. I can't just force a sport on you. Yes, so the judge referred to these subpoenas as, quote, unreasonable and oppressive. And they were coming from an authority with no lawful standing to issue them. Step 5, just to wrap it up in a nice neat bow, on the 4th of May, so just a couple of weeks ago, a 3-judge Second Circuit panel heard oral arguments. All 3 judges signaled skepticism. The New York AG's office tells the court in its filing, quote, allowing the Department of Justice to install acting U.S. attorneys who will weaponize the federal criminal justice system to conduct vendettas against a president's political rivals is as obvious an affront to the Constitution's foundational principles as one could imagine. Sport. They didn't say sport. I just thought I'd shoehorn it in case I forget in 5 minutes' time because, you know, menopause brain. The panel actually reserved its decision, and we are still waiting for a decision on Mr. Sarkone. So watch this space. But you want to know a little bit more about this absolute peach of a US attorney, don't you? Acting first reserve, guy on the bench, I don't know, oranges carrier, if that's a thing. We at football matches, people used to bring out trays of sliced oranges and hand them out. I just see him being suited for that kind of a role. Not the actual cutting, not with the sharp knife or anything, but just holding the tray while people come at halftime and grab their oranges and crack on with the game. I think too much, I know. A bit ball boy, exactly. But actually, Gordon, I believe the Wimbledon ball boys in particular are very highly trained. So maybe not. Maybe not. Stick with the oranges, John. So this is not just a water boy. Exactly. That's your equivalent, isn't it? Yeah, water boy. But it's not just a story about a bad political appointment, because nothing ever is just a story about the thing you think it's a story about in this administration. This is a story about the conduct of the person installed. And that conduct is, in its very specifics, extraordinary. And I'm really sorry, John, not in a good way. The fabricated murder attempt. Let's start at the top, right? Sarkone alleged that an undocumented immigrant, because of course it was, named Saul Morales Garcia, attempted to murder him outside an Albany hotel. I'm not making any comments as to why he was outside the Albany hotel. I suspect it was a business meeting, and all completely legitimate. Unfortunately for our Mr. Sarkone, surveillance video was obtained. Yeah. Although we all know that having something filmed and having video evidence of a thing is not necessarily a guarantee that justice will be served. Renee Good, Alex Pretty, among others. The video in this case showed the interaction fell significantly short of his account. The charges against Morales Garcia were reduced to misdemeanor menacing. Not even a felony. From attempted murder. The Northern District judges declined to extend Sarkozy's appointment shortly after this happened. Next, because that's not enough, the boarded up house. When Sarkozy filed this police report, he had to give his home address, and he listed a property which appeared to be boarded up. Critics, I would just say right-thinking people, but we'll go with critics, argued that he was falsely claiming residency within the district in order to maintain his eligibility for the role. Mate, I really don't think that where you're living is the biggest problem in this particular situation. I'm not a legal scholar, but I think there are a few other things in the against column. Just my gut feeling. But that's not all. Then we have the blacklisted newspaper. Because the Albany Times Union had the cheek to report the previous two things, the fabricated murder attempt and the boarded up house that he doesn't actually really live in their paper. They reported it with actual facts and truth. Oh, I know. How very dare they? What did Sarkozy do? He removed the paper from his office's press distribution list, the local paper. He blacklisted the local paper that covered him for covering him. This became part of a subsequent misconduct complaint, and that is also significant. So keep that in here, the misconduct complaint. And then he went on to falsely claim that the Northern District judges officially extended his term as acting US attorney when they didn't, because he's a fucking car crash. That is my opinion. That's not an actual fact. Let's go with metaphor. Would you like to hear about the misconduct allegation and finding and why it was sealed? Of course you do. A complaint was filed against Sarkozy by the watchdog group Campaign for Accountability, and we do be loving us some accountability. The New York Attorney Grievance Committee investigated and found sufficient basis for a professional misconduct finding. Fantastic, you're all screaming. There's going to be some accountability. Then the committee sealed that decision. They sent letters to the groups who filed the complaint telling them the finding was private and confidential under New York state law, and they were not permitted to disclose it. They were not even permitted to disclose the fact that a decision had been made. It was that secret because we don't want everybody knowing that US attorneys are dodge and, been found to be as such in a properly conducted investigation. One of those groups was a press freedom organization, for pity's sake. Just let that sit for a moment. A misconduct filing against a federal prosecutor who had retaliated against a newspaper, and the committee tried to tell a press freedom group they had to keep it secret. Campaign for Accountability called it right, in my opinion. They called it, quote, a secret slap on the wrist. I mean, it was barely that. It was more of like a British tut, wasn't it? And a little finger wag. They added, John Sarkozy is putting cases forth in front of federal courts. Every judge should know what John Sarkozy did and what the bar thought he did wrong. You damn straight they should. It's unhinged, is what it is. And he's still there. Doesn't that feel? I hope there are no Northern District of New Yorkers here who are facing any kind of criminal proceedings, because I wouldn't be having much confidence. Just, we see it. We see what you're doing. But as of yet, yeah, he's still there. He's still holding the most senior federal prosecutor role in Albany. Still awaiting the Second Circuit's ruling. Still useful to this administration. Still not confirmed, Theresa. One further note, even now, Sarkone's office has been assigned to handle the DOJ's defense in fired prosecutor Maureen Comey's wrongful termination lawsuit. I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm sort of thinking, if these imbeciles are in charge of the DOJ's defense, Maureen Comey's, she can name her price. I hope so. She deserves it. She's a good egg, and that whole family have been through shit because of this administration. So, we're rooting for you, Maureen. And why? Why has it gone there? Because the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office recused itself, like you're supposed to do, because of her family ties to the office. He's not sitting on the sidelines, folks. He's not the water boy. He's not bringing the sliced oranges at half term. He is active, and he is being used currently. Ready for a rapid roundup of the other runners and riders so far this week? Because that was, as soon as I saw the name, I thought, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. How many US attorneys does it take to change a light bulb? How many completely unqualified and illegitimate US attorneys does it take to change a light bulb? Answers on a postcard, please, if anybody still writes postcards. So, yes, and just a reminder for anyone who didn't join at the very beginning, if you need your Glenn fix, you can get it. I will stick it back in the chat again for anybody who joined afterwards. The link to Glenn and Brian Tyler Cohen chatting over on the YouTube about the Trump suing himself case to get a nice big settlement to create a slush fund to make all the January 6 rioters millionaires. So that's there, but I will add it for anyone who joined very, 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 very late. Okay, so I will add that once this goes up onto Substack. I'll stick that link in, but you can all find Brian Tyler Cohen and our lovely Glenn over on the YouTube. No worries, neurodivergent hodgepodge. We will pop it in the show notes so nobody will miss out. So that's the John Sarcone story. Neuro, if you want the John Sarcone story, catch the recording. Getting lost in doodling, I say, power to you. Yeah. So if you want to know more about the John Sarcone nonsense, if you don't, just think Lindsay Halligan, just think Alina Habba, and you've pretty much got the story, and then make it worse. And to be honest, probably the actual thing is even worse. So yeah, that's the start of this video. But now for the rapid roundup. So other stories I found that caught my eye, and some of them we've touched on, some of them are new news, and some of them are recaps. Are you ready? Let's whiz through these. What time are we at? Perfect. Good. So the courts have not been quiet. It is the weekend, so we don't expect anything to be happening right now, but I've picked a few of my favorites. So where are we on the tariffs? Because that's hurting you. A lot of you are American citizens. A lot of you are suffering because of the impact of the tariffs before we get to the impact of the war and everything else. So after the Supreme Court struck down the IEEPA tariffs in February, Trump tried a workaround, and I know you like the specific numbers to go look up. So he tried Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, which would apply 10% global tariffs. So that's what he's trying. Now, a Court of International Trade panel ruled last week that those tariffs are also unlawful. Well, who'd have thunk, right? The administration asked for a stay on that decision, On Tuesday, the federal court issued a temporary administrative pause, so like a legal timeout, while it considers whether to issue an actual proper stay. So they're having a stay while they think about whether they're going to have a stay. Sorry, I'm not up on the law like Glenn is, but this all sounds a little bit bonkers to me. But that's where that is. They're having a pause to think about whether or not to have a pause. The saga continues. Watch this space. So the last decision that was made was you can't do them, and the Trump administration said, "Oh, please, 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 please think again." And so they're having a little think about whether they're going to have a think again. Is my English interpretation of American law. What else have we got? Oh, we haven't got all bad. We've got the Texas SB4, the immigration law. Some good news on that front. This happened yesterday. A federal judge, a Reagan appointee, so none of your liberal, left, wokey, whatevers, tofu eating vegans. Have you all seen this? The vegan. Somebody's a vegan, and have you heard this? Oh, I can't remember where I saw it about being somebody is cisgendered, and we just know he's heard cisgendered, and he's thought Somebody write it down for him. I know he doesn't read things, but the big words, the words that are more than 2 or 3 syllables, write them down. Make sure he understands that asylum seekers have not come from mental asylums, that an incursion into a foreign country is not an excursion, that a photograph being doctored is not you appearing as a doctor, and somebody being cisgender does not mean they have a six. This man's running your country. Sorry. I'll calm down. It's fine. What could possibly happen? I mean, he's only got his finger on the nuclear button. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, so this Reagan appointee has blocked multiple provisions of Texas's SB4 immigration law the day before it was due to take effect. Provisions blocked include making it a state crime to be in Texas if you've ever re-entered the US without authorization. I'm not making this up, I swear to God. I've got all the receipts, because you kind of have to, don't you? Otherwise, nobody's going to fucking believe you. So, yes, it's not going to be a state crime to be in Texas if you've ever re-entered the US without authorization, even if you've since obtained legal status, including a green card. They still wanted it to be legal to deport you. It's not going to be possible for state magistrate judges to have the power to issue deportation orders in this instance. The judge wrote, quote, SB4 conflicts with federal immigration law because it provides state officials the power to enforce federal law without federal supervision. The ACLU were the absolute heroes who filed this lawsuit on the 4th of May. And as I say, they got the block the day before it was due to come into effect. So well done, ACLU. And if you've got a few pence down the back of a few cents down the back of the sofa, and you're trying to think of where to fling them, you might want to fling them the ACLU's direction, because they do an awful lot of really, really good work. I know. I see the comments out the corner of my eye, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Do you know what? I could have made shit up and it be less ridiculous and more convincing than what's actually going on. And can I just ask, Tracy, from one Tracy to another, whatever the hallucinogenic was, I'm willing to try it at this point, quite frankly. Any trip is a better trip than the one we're on. It's insane. What else have we got? The law firms fight. We did mention this. Just a quick recap. So on Thursday, the DC Circuit heard oral arguments on Trump's executive orders targeting 4 major law firms. The law firms Perkins Coie, Jenner and Block, Wilmer Hale, and Sussman Godfrey. And They were being taken to court by the president for representing clients he doesn't like. Former Republican Solicitor General Paul Clement argued the orders, quote, strike at the heart of the rule of law, which of course they do. The Department of Justice's position, security clearance decisions are unreviewable by any court, even if made for improper motives. Do you know, sometimes I get to the point where I think I'm going to say I'm not making this shit up, and you're going to be like, yeah, we know, it's fine. We know. We know it sounds absolutely unhinged, but yeah, we know it's all true. It's fine. Carry on, Mama. We believe you anyway. The panel has not ruled yet. And as we remember, 9 other firms already made a settlement rather than fight it. But I hope this goes all the way, and I hope they win, obviously. And by they, I mean the law firms, not the incoherent blimmin' Department of Justice. So, voting rights, that's all over the place. Bombs going off everywhere. Metaphorical bombs, not literal, actual bombs. Hopefully, some of you managed to catch some of the fantastic live streaming on Joy Reid or MS Now. I don't know if Mark Elias is involved. That's a very good question, Tamara. But yeah, hopefully some of you saw the live footage from Alabama. It looked fantastic. They had some fantastic speakers. They had AOC, they had Raphael Warnock, they had, oh, what's the cute one? Cory Booker. Sorry, I'm just giving myself away there. They had so many great speakers. They had a medical incident which they actually dealt with as it happened and refused to continue until the medical incident was dealt with, because that's what decent human beings do. Anywho. So 29th of April, we had the Supreme Court 6-3 right-wing majority ruling in Louisiana versus Calais, that Louisiana's majority-minority congressional district was unconstitutional. Analysts estimate it could net Republicans 16 to 18 additional House seats through redistricting nationwide. This week, Louisiana's governor announced he's suspending the state's own primary election, even though 100,000 mail ballots have already been sent out. Democrats have filed suit saying it's illegal under Louisiana law. Civil rights organizations, as I say, launched the National Day of Action across the South. And hopefully any of you who could participate did. And everybody else will just do whatever they can to support getting the word out, getting people signed up and able to vote, and then helping them to cast their choice in what happens to them. And yes, you've still got the nonsense going on in Virginia with the Virginia Supreme Court overturning the decision of thousands of Virginians. So they will try appealing it, but we have to watch this space. Would you like a point of light before we finish? We should, shouldn't we? Oh, I love that, KR. I love that. Birmingham Friday. They're doing something at the courthouse, the Vance, as in JD, but not as in JD. Vance Courthouse. They're taking it to the courts. Be there, be loud, be supportive. If you're close. If you're not, then you can't do it. We hear you, but you know, that's what's happening on Friday in Birmingham, Alabama. A point of light. Here it comes, because you've asked so nicely, Teresa. ICE detention bond hearings. So not everything this week was bad news. A federal appeals court upheld detained immigrants' right to bond hearings because, you know, habeas corpus, you have a right to come before a judge to plead your case. Which ruled that the Trump administration's mandatory detention policy, which denied long-term US residents any opportunity for release, was both contrary to the Constitution and almost 3 decades of established practice, formerly known as precedent. Not, apparently, according to this Supreme Court, but there we are. The ruling covers Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and is expected to affect thousands of people who will now get their day in court. The court rejected the government's argument that it should subject, quote, long-term, law-abiding residents of the United States to hardship of mandatory detention without due process. Well, thank the Lord for the local courts. These local level courts are really doing the heavy lifting, and I can't look in that direction. Assuming that the SCOTUS or scrotus is over there, I just can't look at them. I can't. I don't know how they look at themselves in the mirror. Anywho, I've taken up far too much of your time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's round up. So, John Sarcone is one US attorney in one district. There are 94 US attorney districts across the United States. But this case is going to be a template, and the courts know it. They're going to be very, very careful how they decide this one. The question being litigated in the Second Circuit and the DC Circuit law firm's case, and case after case after case, same question that Glenn asks every time he sits down to record. And that's the only question that ultimately matters. Is the executive branch of the United States government subject to the law, or is it not? We know what we think, and we're going to keep on pushing until right-thinking people are in a position to be able to act upon it and hold these people accountable. The courts so far, at least the district courts, are mostly saying yes. It is. Laws apply to everyone. Federal judges appointed by 5 different presidents, including Mr. Trump, have ruled against this administration's overreach in case after case after case. They are holding the line, and we have to let them know that we support them. But mostly, and so far, they are doing an awful lot of the heavy lifting in those sentences. And this administration is not slowing down. They're finding new angles, new workarounds, new appointees, new arguments. Every time a court says no, they look for the back door. This is why the work Glenn does, laying out the receipts, explaining the law to us, keeping us informed, keeping us engaged, keeping us enthused, matters more now than at any point in living memory. And I am absolutely delighted just to be keeping his seat a little bit warmed with just the few of you that are here tonight, because we just need to keep the pressure up, and Glenn does need to have a holiday. So, you know, we've got to all carry this load, right? Many hands make light work. So, an informed public is no longer a luxury. It is a requirement for any of this to hold, and it must hold. So that's all for today's mini matters or rapid roundup, depending on, I haven't thought of a name for it because I'm not planning on being around long enough for it to need a name. Glenn, the delights of New York are waiting for you. Go enjoy them, be with your people, because your community are here. We are holding the line. We are keeping the seat warm, and we are looking after each other. So take the whole weekend, and we'll see you when you're back here. But as Glenn would say, before you all go on your way, stay engaged, stay informed, and as always, take good care of each other, because you all matter. Mama matters. Glenn matters. We matter. And most of all, you know it, justice matters. Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow if Glenn's not back, but I'm kind of hoping he is, because this is fucking hard work, Glenn.